another episode of Cinetober! Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of Cinetober! Cinetober! And as I use the Batman theme over and over again... Wrong way. There we go. Alright, so, as you all know, I have been reviewing the Wrong Turn series lately. I did Wrong Turn 1, which you can find on my YouTube channel, 2, 3, and now I'm going to do Wrong Turn 4. Now, this one I do like. It's a good origin story, it really is. You know, the Wrong Turn movies, they're I guess you could, I don't think you could classify them as torture porns, because they're really not. They're slasher films. They're like Freddy vs. Jason, but just not as good. So, there is a lot of characters in this movie. I mean, I had to look up on Google at least 4 different times to remember all the characters' names. We have Vincent, a guy. We have Daniel, another guy. We have Kyle, another guy. And then we have Kenya, a girl. Bridget, a girl. Sarah, a girl. Jenna, a girl. Claire, a girl. And Lauren, a girl. 6 girls, 3 dudes. Alright, so the movie basically begins with them showing at this asylum in West Virginia. And the doctor is like, these are the most dangerous patients in this whole asylum. And even though they're just kids, they're called, I forget what they're called, what they called them, but they found out that they killed and ate their parents. They say they gave him the name Three Finger because one of his fingers was gone and they thought he maybe ate it. One Eye because he took his eye out in front of a nurse, and Sawtooth because he was sharpening his teeth on the walls, and they put a mask on him. And this woman was like, well, why? How can he not? How could he stand the pain? And he's like, that's the best part. They can't feel pain. So that's why they're so indestructible. They have this disease where they can't feel any pain. So that's why they can do all this stuff to each other and nothing will happen. So the doctor's like, okay, the therapist is like, I want to work with them. So when the therapist is walking by, an elderly inmate grabs her by her hair and pulls out her pen and throws it to the cannibals, and they get out. So then they let all the other prisoners out and go on a rant on a the asylum's pretty much in chaos. They take the therapist and put her on the in the therapy thing, like the electroshock therapy, and they fry her brain to death. And when they're done with her, she peed herself. The doctor, they had him strung up by barbed wire, like he was spread out like this, pretty much. And okay, if you've ever seen Conan, the Conan movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger, when they crucify him, he was hung up like that. But they had him connected to like the doors that would go up slowly, and because he had barbed wire, it ripped all of his appendages off. So then we get to the University of Virginia. We see 2 couples having sex. We see a normal couple, which is Jenna and Vincent, and then we see a lesbian couple, which is Bridget and Sarah. And then the character Kenya walks in. She's like, "You guys are a bunch of slut monkeys." And then they're talking about how they're supposed to meet, this guy, and up at the cabin, up at a certain cabin. So then we get all the rest of the characters, and my favorite character in this movie is actually Daniel, even though it sucks what happens to him. So they're all going on these Porter's the guy's name, and they're all going up to his cabin, and they come to the turning point. Now in this one, just like with Chris in the first one, they take a left instead of a right, and Daniel's like, this has got to be the wrong turn, I know it. Wrong turn in the movie, they always do that. So they go off for the rest of the night, and they try driving through on their snowmobiles, and they get snowed in. So they find the asylum, they get in, and this place this was a fancy asylum because it had couches and everything. So, you know, they're all like setting up and everything, and, you know, trying to figure out where everyone's going to sleep, getting a fire started, finding something to eat. And so while the boys are going to investigate, a lot of the girls stay behind, and then Vincent and Kenya and Jenna all go exploring, and Vincent does this old gag, you know, like where he acts like something's attacked him, and it freaks Jenna out. And so he scares her, and she's like, you know, you're like a 10-year-old child. And he is kind of like a douche. I mean, I can understand, you know, pranks, but, you know, when it comes to places like this, in the asylum, it's not necessary. But they do go explore. And when they explore, they find the main doctor's office, and they find the files on the patients, and like how they looked all deformed. They find booze. They start having fun and chasing each other in wheelchairs and stuff like that. So then they find they find the theater room, and they find the tapes, and the tapes just happen to be recordings of the cannibals getting electroshock therapy. And Lauren, Daniel's girlfriend, talks about how I think her dad or her friend or whatever, whenever they were driving through Greensboro, would tell the story about the cannibals, like how they got so messed up because they were having sex with each other and they ate each other and stuff like that. So they all go sleep for the night. We do see the cannibals dragging someone's body. Vincent wakes up and he's like, I can't sleep, I'm gonna go explore some more. So he's walking around and he finds the lesbians are having sex, and he's watching them. It's really weird. So then he just goes and walks around, and he sees this dude's body up against the window. And he's like, hey, who's there? What's going on? And then he's like, Porter, is that you? And then he pushes him over, and then blood is on there, and then he gets it, and then he gets a nose poke through the nose by One Eye. And you know what? When he got his nose poked, that made me think of a scene from The Mummy, when Evie is talking about how they would take the nose and they would like put take out your brains. They would like take a hot poker and rip your brain out. That's what it made me think of. Or it made me think of a game show. You've been poked! This is where you get poked in the nose and you win a prize. The prize of dying slow and painfully. So then they wake up and they discover Vincent's gone. So they all go explore again. And they start in like the snowstorm. There was a snowstorm, and it's gotten really, really bad. So they're all going and looking around for Vincent, and Jenna goes down to. They find this basement that's like got all this stuff in it. It's got like the stuff like they did the patients, like, you know, the tools and everything. And so they go, and Jenna happens to find Sawtooth carrying her boyfriend's body, but she doesn't know it's him, so she hides, and then she watches him chop him up. And then they're all running around. They all meet back in the lobby, and they're like, someone's messing with us. And then Jenna comes in, she's like, they're gonna kill us all, and they're like, what are you talking about? All of a sudden, something is thrown out in the middle, and they look, and it is either Porter's body, because it's his jacket. It's either Porter's head or it's Vincent's head. I never got a good look, but they start running, and you know, they get out, and they discover that the cannibals took their spark plugs out of their snowmobiles. So then Daniel's like, no, they don't even have jackets on. So Lauren is basically like, look, I'm the best skier. I'm going to go and get help. I'll ski down the mountain. I'll go get help. So, you know, and I admire her for that. That was a good character development. She knows she's the best skier, so she goes off by herself to get help. You know, be brave. So then they're all getting ready to, you know, they're like, I think we should prepare to fight, you know, so that way we can take care of ourselves. So they go to look for him, and then they find him, and they're all running, and Daniel's like, why don't we just fight him? And then when they're running away, Daniel gets kidnapped. Now, unfortunately, this is a very disturbing film. As far as I know right now, 4 is the most disturbing, because this is even tough for me to talk about. Oh gosh. They basically they eat him alive. And what I mean by eat him alive, they cut pieces of his flesh off, and they basically make a fondue out of him. And it was just very disturbing. They cut his muscles. Oh, I think they took his liver out. Huh, how ironic. They took his liver out, and I had a liver transplant. They have him strapped down on the table with barbed wire, and frickin' they're watching him getting Kyle goes down to look for him, and he discovers that he's getting eaten alive. Now, one thing with Kyle, the first death, or the second death, was Claire's, because when they find the head, Claire gets strung up by a noose of barbed wire, and Dylan is, or not Dylan, I want to say Dylan, Kyle is trying to make her fall down so he can catch her. Her blood is just spilling all over his face, and then they pull her up so high, her head pops off, and it lays right beside him, and her eye blinks. And, you know, this was just like... So, then Kyle and Daniel are like, all right, let's go find him. And that's when Daniel gets taken. And Kyle watches Daniel get eaten alive. And one of the girl I hate in this movie is Bridget. And no, it's not because she's a lesbian. It's because she is the stick in the mud. I can't stand her character, because even though she had a point, all right, Daniel is getting tortured. He's getting knives stuck into his body and sawing, they're slowly cutting his skin off, and they're like, we need to go help him, she's like, no, they're using him as a trap to get us. And Jenna's right, she's right, but that doesn't mean that we can't try to stop them. And while he's getting tortured, and you can even hear him scream, she's like, I think we should vote on it. Let's vote on it. Okay, all right. So, your friend is getting tortured, and I understand you're scared. But the fact that you don't want to help him, what's wrong with you? I mean, it's... Okay, it's like basically if someone is just getting stabbed a bunch, and you're and you're watching it, and you can see, and you're like, and your friends, and you're like, this person's getting stabbed, we should call the police. No, we don't need to get involved. What if they come and get us next? You know what? We should vote on it. Help me! I say we should vote on it. Help me! Let's vote on it. My gosh! I mean, it's like in Dragon Ball Z Abridged, when Gohan is like, how do I get down from here? Climb down! Maybe I could make a rope or something. Climb down! Or, you know, if I could try to scale it, but no, then I would fall and break all my legs. Nerd! You want to vote on seeing or not whether you should try to save your friend. Of course, though, Kyle didn't save him. But anyways. So then they vote on it, and they make a plan. They're going to come at him and force him into the cage. Which they do that. Jenna throws a lamp, and they're forced into their cell. And it just so happens to be the cell that they were in as kids. And so... And another character that I also like, but didn't like at the same time, was Jenna. Because frickin' Kyle's like, let's burn these people. Come on, let's kill them. And then Jenna's like, no, wait, we can't do that. What's the matter with you? They have killed your friends. And you don't want to kill them. I mean, I get it. You know, you don't want to stoop to their level. You know, you don't want to become a killer. You don't want to surrender yourself to that. But if you don't, they're going to get free, and then you're dead. So then Kyle's like, here, I'll take first shift. And he's like, I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to burn all three of you alive. I'm going to say I forgot something, and then I'm going to come back and burn you alive. So he takes the first shift, but unfortunately he falls asleep. They get the pin, they open it, and then they get him. And Jenna's going to relieve him. The generator cuts off. And then pretty much she's like, they've escaped. They have escaped. So then all of a sudden they hear some commotion, and they think it's one of the cannibals. They think it's the little one, so they're like, let's stab him, let's kill him. And then when they do, they take the bag, and he had a bag on his head. And then they realize, oh my gosh, it was Kyle. They cut his tongue out. So now all the guys are dead. All of them are dead. So now they're basically like, okay, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do our best that we can to get out. And while this is going on, they do show some stuff with Lauren as she's made a fire. And then snow falls and puts it out. And it was a little funny, because like the look she gave the tree, she's like, really? Now? Also, there was another funny bit when they're chewing on Daniel's finger. One eye gets choked on it, and he spits it, and it lands in the hot grease. Which I kind of thought was a little funny. But, so, basically, another thing with Bridget is she is not a good actress in this movie. She is extremely bland. When when Sawtooth comes at them with this humongous drill, it's kind of Leatherface-ish. She stabs him in the arm, and he's like, he came in here, but I stabbed him in the arm and he left. Or it's like, he stabbed him in the arm, I stabbed him in the arm and he left. Very bland. So they decide they're going to crawl out a window, which is actually very smart, but unfortunately the windows are caged. They get the cage off. They board themselves in a room, and all the cannibals are trying to get to them. So Sarah digs a hole, and they all come out one by one. So now, the one thing I don't understand, Jenna could have made it, and this is how Jenna unfortunately dies. Jenna is crawling through the hole, but the snow caves in, and she just backs out. She could have got through if she just like freaking just punched through it and just like kept trying to drag. She would have got out of there. And even when Jenna goes back in, hold my leg, she could have pulled her out. But unfortunately, she backs up into the drill, and the blood goes all over Jenna's face, or all over Kenya's face. They get out, they're running, and the cannibals put the spark plugs back in, I guess, and never explain. And Bridget dies by getting run over by a snowmobile. So now it's Kenya and Sarah. And it shows Kenya is walking in the snow. She's like, help me, help me. And then all of a sudden, one of the cannibals is coming after her. She screams, no, no. And then all of a sudden, here comes Sarah and knocks dang it, I keep saying three finger. One eye off of his snowmobile, and they think they've escaped. And before that, unfortunately, we do see what happens to Lauren, and she froze to death. Which actually, they kind of hinted that someone's going to freeze to death. Because when they were outside, it's like, we're going to freeze to death. And someone froze to death. And so they're on the snowmobile, and they think they've got away. And then, unfortunately, they do come across a barbed wire fence, and it cuts both of their heads off. No one survived in this film, but it's a prequel film, so I'm okay with that. It's a prequel, just like with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the beginning. This was a very good prequel. And the song at the end of the movie is actually funny. It's funny because I think I made a mistake. I took a wrong turn. And Three Fingers shows up and he throws their heads into the truck and then they drive away. This film is very disturbing. And it wanted disturbing, it went for disturbing. They show how violent the kids are when they are kids. And they live in the asylum. The gore was good in this movie except one scene when Claire is getting hung and her head pops off. It looks CG, and it is. And it doesn't look too great, but other than that, the rest of the gore is good. If you're a fan of this series, I recommend watching this one. This is better than 3. So far, it goes 1, 2, 4. I haven't watched 5 yet. That's coming up next. But guys, this has been another episode of Cinetober. I hope you guys are enjoying this series. I will be back soon to review Wrong Turn 5. If there's any other horror movies you would like me to review, please put in the comments below. I am doing Scream. I'm not doing Hostel. I don't care who you are. And I'm doing whatever Netflix horror film I can find. Guys, have a good night and I hope that you guys are excited for Sunday because The Walking Dead starts back. Have a good day, guys.